Now, it's no secret that I simply adore the 16-bit era of gaming, and growing up, I was lucky enough to play on the Super Nintendo as well as the Sega Mega Drive, and experience some of the classics of this golden age of gaming.
Nice.
And speaking of the Sega Mega Drive, this 16-bit console would eventually step into the future. But before I get ahead of myself, it's time to go back to the past to learn more. All the way back in the 90s, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive each had some equally impressive titles that would cause a divide with gamers both young and old. This divide, if you will, was dubbed the Console Wars, which was the subject of playground arguments. Essentially, it was, the Super Nintendo has Mario and Zelda. Yeah, well, Sega has Sonic, so yeah. And as expected, the world of gaming was waiting in anticipation for the next big thing. And this couldn't be more true when it came to Sega.
Oh, really?
This add-on came in the form of the SEGA CD, and remembering now, it was a pretty big deal back in the 90s, and the only way you could play one is if you owned a Sega Mega Drive.
Neat.
Gamers and critics alike were blown away by some of the SEGA CD's impressive capabilities, especially when certain games were taking full advantage of this new hardware. The SEGA CD was showcasing to the world exactly where the future of video games was heading, and remembering now, when I first saw some of the gameplay, especially when it came to Batman, it was that cutscene that had me thinking it was like...
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
Exactly! The Sega CD was known for creating full motion videos to a certain degree. But the Sega CD just wasn't a new console for gamers to enjoy. It also received enhanced versions of some of the classic 16-bit games that graced the Sega Mega Drive. Now, two games that come to mind are obviously Batman Returns and the legendary Echo the Dolphin, which has an amazing soundtrack clearly inspired by Pink Floyd.
Excellent!
Now, the Sega CD itself is known for some truly amazing titles, which have gone on to become legends of gaming.
Not bad, not bad.
Each of these titles had somehow retained that magic that made the 16-bit era of gaming such a success within the world of video games. Titles such as Snatcher, Lunar Eternal Blue, and Final Fight became must-haves for the Sega CD, as well as other equally impressive games such as Shining Force, as well as a special edition of Earthworm Jim. It truly felt like the golden age of gaming had continued with the Sega CD, and no Sega console would be complete without a certain blue hedgehog, and so Sonic the Hedgehog graced the Sega CD with that legendary game, Sonic CD. But if you want to know more about Sonic CD, I highly recommend you watch my video on this fantastic title, as well as the other videos in my Summer of Sonic series. Eventually, the Sega CD's mark in the world of gaming was coming to a close, but it would be some time before Sega's latest console would be released into the wild, and so something had to be done to tide gamers over. This is where the 32X entered the world of video games, with a whole list of amazing titles, as well as some lackluster ones that should have never been released.
No! God, please, no!
Gamers, however, were lucky to be blessed with the likes of Knuckles Chaotix, Virtua Fighter, Star Wars Arcade, and one of Sega's most legendary titles, Space Harrier. Oh, Space Harrier, now that's a classic, and as such, it's on my top 20 greatest games of all time, alongside Outrun, Chrono Trigger, and even Doom. And as much as I love classic Doom, which in my opinion is a masterpiece of a title for the PC, when it was released on the 32X, it was just disappointing. Don't get me wrong, John Carmack did what he could with the 32X version of Doom, but it was missing so many things that made the classic such a perfect masterpiece for the PC. But luckily for us gamers, there were several ports of this now legendary game.
Yes!
Eventually, over time, the Sega CD as well as the 32X would fade into the background, especially with the release of the Sega Saturn, but that's for another video.
Oh, come on!
Anyway, I have a question for you guys at home, and this would be, would you class the Sega CD and the 32X as failures for Sega? I'm going to have to say yes and no. Sure, the SEGA CD and the 32X may not have been the groundbreaking revolution to the world of gaming, but over the years, they've since gone to become a part of video game history. Each of them have their own list of titles that gamers find popular, and without these two additions for the Sega Mega Drive, perhaps the realm of video games would have turned out differently, especially for Sega. Now, would you believe that the Sega CD is making a welcome return back to the world of gaming, but in a mini format, alongside the mini Mega Drive 2? And if it's a success, will it mean that there'll be a mini version of the Sega Saturn, as well as the Sega Dreamcast?
You teasing me, naughty.
Be interesting to see, and what games would you choose? Maybe a topic for a future video. I'm looking at you in particular, Justin, as well as the rest of the Orange crew.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Anyway, come back next time where the cartoon guy combines the world of wrestling with that of anime for a very bizarre cartoon. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.